A very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nirmala Kaur, Assistant Professor of Haldia Institute of Technology. Would like to welcome you all to the third day, afternoon session of 1 week online faculty development program on an extremely engrossing topic, thriving together, mental wellness, and collaborative excellence in higher education, organized by School of Applied Science and Humanities in association with IQAC, Haldia Institute of Technology. With great pleasure and deep respect, I welcome our second speaker, Dr. Bashabi Gogoi, who will take us through this dynamic and thought provoking topic with her expertise and experience. The art of empathetic listening, building trust, and forging meaningful connections. At this juncture, I would like to take a moment to introduce our distinguished speaker. Dr. Bashabi Gogoi is an assistant professor in the Department of English at Tezpur University. She completed her MA in English from Tezpur University, earned her MPhil from the English and Foreign Languages University, Shillong, and obtained her PhD from Guwahati University. She also holds a postgraduate diploma in distance education. Her research interests include Indian writing in English, film adaptation theories, translation studies. She has published with research articles in reputed academic journals and has presented papers at numerous national international conferences. She is particularly interested in translating literary works from Assamese into English, thereby contributing to the wider dissemination of regional literature and culture. At Tezpur University, Dr. Gogoi teaches a wide range of undergraduate and postgraduate courses. English literary history, poetry, drama, fiction, popular literature, and film adaptation studies. She is committed to fostering critical thinking, interdisciplinary learning, and literary appreciation among her students. Her academic pursuits reflect a sustained engagement with contemporary literary scholarship, translation, and pedagogy, making her a valued teacher, researcher, and a mentor in the field of English studies. We eagerly look forward to an insightful and enriching session. And I now invite Dr. Bashabi Gogoi to deliver her lecture. I welcome you once again, ma'am. The online podium is all yours. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Nirmala, for this very generous introduction. And you had said something, I have experience and expertise in this topic, but,
Absolutely.
experience, maybe yes, but expertise, I'm not really sure because I'm still learning. And all of us here, we are part of the same fraternity. And therefore, my deepest regards to those of who are present here in this online podium. And I thank, first of all, Haldia Institute of Technology for giving me this honor of sharing my experiences with you all. I have actually titled my presentation, The Art of Empathetic Listening, Building Trust and Forging Meaningful Connections. Now, this is actually something that all of us are very much aware of, the necessity of the importance of listening. And in today's context, I'm sure all of us will agree that, the student demography has changed. So changed in a big way. So, the most that we can do for their betterment is to listen to them. And it's very difficult, listening as it is not very easy because we are all consumed with our own worries and problems and troubles and whatnot. But empathetic listening is even harder. So I'll just share some of my own experiences, and also invite you all to interact with your experiences, since all of us belong to this same fraternity. Now, I would like to actually begin with, can you all see the screen? This quote?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm
It is
sure,
visible.
most of us, we have heard of Paulo Freire and this his book called Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And some of us have, I'm sure, read it also. So we know that Paulo Freire is one of the most important educational theorists of the 20th century, the founder of critical pedagogy, and best known for this book, Pedagogy of the Oppressed. So he had said something like this, and I quote, "This is the sense in which I'm obliged to be a listener, to listen to the students' doubts, fears, and incompetencies that are part of the learning process. It is in listening to the student that I learn to speak with him or her," unquote. Listening, as we all know, is a very important life skill and can have a huge effect on our professional as well as personal lives. It is like, as important in a conversation as talking. We may not realize how important the art of listening is. I'm sure all of us, will be now listening to one another. But we do really make an impression on others by the manner in which we listen, than in what we actually say. So, Jiddu Krishnamurti, I'm sure all of you have heard of him. So, he had said something like this, that the art of listening is one of the greatest arts that there is. So, it means that teaching begins not with speaking, but with listening. We are, all of us here, we are teacher educators, and teaching is often perceived as the art of speaking. But what lies at the heart of effective teaching is not speaking, but active listening. This is often, overshadowed by discussions on curriculum, evaluation, research, etc. But if we inculcate this, as teachers, if we inculcate this transformative human capacity of active listening and empathy, then we can bridge the invisible gap that we have with our students and forge meaningful connections. So, like, I would like ask you now that if you introspect, if we all introspect, I'm sure, all of us will agree that, teachers, they are remembered not merely because of their erudition, because of the vastness of their knowledge, information, but because they made their students feel valued and understood. So just think back, if you think back, on your favorite teacher, say, so what did they do? What did they do to make you feel understood and valued? How did it make you feel? I'm just, posing some questions. How did it make you feel when you realized that the teacher was actually listening to you? And as a corollary to that, how did it affect your learning? Because that is very important. The kind of uh, the kind of behavior that we receive also has, it shows in our performance. And here in since we are all teacher educators here, we will be talking about academic performance of the students. So again, I'll just quote from Paulo Freire when he says that the teacher is no longer merely the one who teaches, but one who is him or herself taught in dialogue with the students, who in turn, while being taught, also teach. They become jointly responsible for a process in which we all grow. Unquote. Now the thing is, we like, as teachers, as educators, as faculty members, I believe that we should not be sitting on our high horses and say that, okay, fine, I know everything and I'm here to dole out pearls of wisdom and you are going to absorb it. This is no longer going to happen. Given the current scenario, we know what is happening in the country right now. So this is definitely not going to happen, because now students are going to question. They are going to ask very uncomfortable questions. So we have to be able to reply to them. We have to be able to, attune ourselves to the fact that the whole student demography is changing. So what I plan to do in this session is distinguish between hearing and active listening, then discuss the role of empathy in this technology-driven pedagogical system, identify the barriers to empathetic listening in the academic environment, and also introspect on our own listening habits and develop strategies for improvement. Um, there is this book called The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, written by Stephen R. Covey, where he states that, and I quote, "The biggest communication problem is that we do not listen to understand. We listen to reply," unquote. So this attempt to focus the brain on forming a rebuttal rather than absorbing the message is the root cause of many relationship breakdowns as well as miscommunications. Because, when somebody tells something to us or, says something to us, then we constantly think of the reply. This is normal human behavior. So good listening, it involves encouraging other people to open up, say interesting things, then understand the things that they tell us, and also at the same time being sensitive to the thoughts and feelings that underlie the things that they tell us. And I'll repeat it again and again that this is not a very easy task. This is very hard, actually. We have to work on it. We ourselves have to work on it. And also, it is both passive and active listening. That is, it must be both active and passive. It is not just enough to listen. We have to show that we are listening. Although in forums like this, online forums like this, it's very difficult, to gauge the other person's reactions, when you're speaking, because it's in a class, it's easier because you can actually see the faces of the people. But now here, it's a different ballgame altogether. But anyway, besides that, our countenance, our gestures, eyes, some people have very expressive eyes, and the tone and tenor of our voice should combine to tell the other person that you are taking in what he or she is saying. So in a classroom, good listening on the part of the instructor, that is us, it can also bring out the best in students. Sometimes, I'm sure, you all have noticed perhaps, even the most inconspicuous person in the class may have very interesting or valuable insights to share or information to give. Because, sometimes it happens that, a student is very reticent, but, when he or she speaks, you feel that, that, oh my God, this person actually knows his subject. And if you're a poor listener, it will, in contrast, lead to misunderstanding, boredom, or even ill feeling. Now, being a member of this very noble profession, it is imperative that we develop mental concentration, which I'm sure it's very hard because with all the confusion, all the counterances going on inside our mind, to develop mental concentration itself is an effort. So this is important. We have to work on this. Then we have to be generosity and self-confidence in order to listen well. Poor listeners, sometimes I also become a very poor listener. Why? Because I'm worrying about what is happening at home, say, for example, or worrying about what I'm supposed to say next, or I'm distracted by my phone, which is ubiquitous, then, or I'm lost in my own thoughts because something is really going on in my head, and this results in insufficient attention. In a classroom situation, what happens is that after the lecture is over, it's very important to interact with the students, keep some time for interaction, revert our attention to this interaction with the students, because it is very natural for us as teachers that we are concerned about the impression that we are making on the students. But we must not obsess over it. Instead, focus on what the students are saying. So what does active listening entail? Like in a conversation, we have to be at times reassuring, at times we have to be supportive, and sometimes we have to be very, very understanding. Like I've kind of put together a dialogue. Say, for example, student comes and tells you, "Can I talk to you?" And you say, "Certainly." I'm sorry, but I want to apologize for my low grades this semester, but there has been an awful lot on my plate. And you say that's all right. I think the assignments are becoming overwhelming for me, and I have not been able to concentrate properly in my studies because I'm also having issues with my roommate in the hostel. And you say, I see how I can help. How can I help? So this is how being reassuring, being supportive, and then sympathizing works. The student here, sees and hears that the teacher is listening, and therefore he is encouraged to continue talking. The teacher's responsiveness has helped the student confide in the teacher about what was troubling him. Otherwise, he might not have said that. So gravitas is very important in communication as it projects a calm, credible authority, ensuring that your message is trusted and taken seriously. Gravitas is built on emotional intelligence, composure, and clarity, which can be cultivated through a combination of deliberate body language, a measured vocal delivery, and a concise structuring of our ideas. Now, it is very important to remember that conversation is sometimes also indirect. Like often the most important messages in a conversation are left unsaid. So we must be ready. We must have that, mental capacity to deduce them, because it pays to be alert to what lies behind another person's words. So, using our eyes as well as ears is vital to deduce the message behind words correctly. Because nothing is more encouraging for a speaker than to have your undivided attention. So, I'm sure we know some of the ways to do this, and I'm just going to go through them. Uh, am I audible till now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
You were audible.
So I'm sure all of you know this, but still I'm going to say it. The first cardinal rule of a good listener is to maintain eye contact and not feign it uh, by looking at an area near their speaker's eyes. This is not possible here, of course. Uh, we have to give the speaker our undivided attention and be really present, but also not overdo the eye contact, because sometimes a piercing stare will become very intimidating. Now, I came across this very interesting, anecdote about U.S. President John F. Kennedy. He had a trick to do this. So, what he did was that when people look and listen, they tend to focus on one eye rather than both. So Kennedy, however, he would look from eye to eye when he listened, softening the expression in his own eyes at the same time, and so giving the impression that he cared greatly about the speaker's feelings. If the other person is not giving you eye contact, right, then try saying his name before starting to talk, which may also help you psychologically to be more assertive in drawing his attention to you. So that is one. Then, making the right noises. Okay. So this also goes a long way in keeping the conversation going. You have to assure the student that you understand what he or she is telling you by making appropriate sounds or exclamations like, okay, I hear that, or even, interjecting with a comment or a clarifying question, which will show your involvement. Like, he's narrating something and you say, okay, fine, what happened next? Or can you explain further? Something like that. But then again, to avoid misunderstandings, we have to try to be precise in our vocal encouragements, because we don't really have to agree to everything that the speaker says. And as with eye contact, it is also good not to overdo with the interjections, because the speaker may feel overwhelmed or even mocked at. They may also resent the interrogation that, okay, fine, the teacher is asking too many questions and I don't want to say everything. And also, it is not advisable to give advice immediately or finish the other's sentences. It is okay to pause and allow silence, because silence can be comforting at times and can also encourage deeper reflection. So that is the second thing. The third thing, strategic competence while listening, includes using appropriate facial expressions. Uh, so, I'm sorry, this my slide is slightly off the mark here. No matter how we feel when we are in the classroom or when we are mentoring students, it behooves us to send out the right signals with our expressions, like a relaxed, responsive face, nods of the head, warm smiles, even, eyebrow twitches to give encouragement. It is also equally important to drop the subject if an argument is simply going round and round in circles. The discussion should be continued only if the other person clearly wants to. Now, while mentoring, I'm sure we also have our mentoring classes along with our teaching assignments. So, while mentoring, we have to make sure that you have really understood what the other person is saying, thinking, and feeling. Because there may be more justice in his or her position, than you had realized. Because in the heat of the moment, sometimes misunderstandings or prejudices may arise. As teachers come counselors, we should bear in mind that there are often things in other people's backgrounds, in their childhood, for example, that make them take an extreme position in a particular area, in some particular area. And this may not justify their arguments, but it will account for their passion and apparent lack of reason. So, without trying to be a savior, because some of us have this savior complex, it may be wise to disengage yourself from the discussion. Do remember, because speaking is a corollary of listening, so it is also important not to give in too easily if you choose to continue a discussion. If the other person is not taking in what you are saying, then keep repeating it without raising your voice or getting upset until the message at last gets through. It is important to remember that the other person has a right to an opinion. Agree to disagree. Also, uh, we should never, judge people by what we hear immediately, because we have to tune gradually to the nuances of their voice. Some people, they have a very business-like manner of talking, and they like to come straight to the point. Others, they like to exchange pleasantries first. And if conflict develops, then hear the other person out, then make your own point. Active listening also means keeping relatively still. This is very difficult, I know, and only shifting position occasionally, because uh, some of us have our own, idiosyncrasies, like constantly fidgeting around, or fiddling with the phone, or tapping a foot or fingers, or even shaking a leg. This gives the impression that we are inattentive or in a hurry to hear the speaker out, which can become unnerving. Just think of yourself. If you're listening, if you're saying something to somebody and that person is constantly looking at the phone, you know that the person is not paying attention to you, or twiddling the thumbs, or shaking the leg, which is very distracting also. So, and also some people, they are loud, fast talkers, and when they listen, they do so with similar enthusiasm, because they also want that speaker to finish. Okay, fine, quickly tell me what you want to say. Others, by contrast, they speak slowly and quietly, so their listening style is also similarly underplayed. So it benefits to adapt our listening style to the speaking style of the person we are in conversation with. If you are an effusive listener, then you can easily overpower a less expressive speaker. The speaker is saying things slowly, and you're like, okay, fine, quickly, tell me what is happening, what is wrong. So, ease back. And if, however, you tend to listen in a low key way, then an energetic or expressive speaker may lose the drift. Okay, this person is not listening or paying attention to what I'm saying. So make a conscious effort to nod your head, make appropriate noises, and also keep eye contact steady. Body language conveys a very subtle but telling variety of signals. Body language is also contagious. When a conversation is going well, people mirror each other's stance, gestures, and mannerisms. When conflict arises, body language is also adjusted accordingly. So there is I want to share with you all. I don't know if it will help you or not, but it has, to be very honest, it has helped me a little bit, and I've tried it myself. So a very simple exercise to improve listening skills. This you will find in any yoga class or meditation class if you attend. This is the thing that they tell you. We all know how to meditate, of course. Like meditation. If you take a few minutes every day, to sit still in a quiet room, not necessarily a dark room, in a quiet room, and then close our eyes and do nothing but listen. If you listen to specific sounds and identify them, you know uh, I'm sure you all know this, in yoga classes they do that. So one of the problems of poor listeners is that they are more attuned to what is going on inside themselves. Because there's so much conflict and turmoil inside me. I'm diverting all my energies, channeling all my energies towards that. We are more concerned with what is going on inside ourselves than to what is happening in others and the outside world. So if we do this exercise, like I said, very still, 10 minutes every day, maybe this exercise may help you to forget yourself and to turn outwards. Now, we need to remember that in teaching learning pedagogy, it is always a two-way process. Uh, Before they can absorb knowledge and information, students must feel psychologically safe, which is difficult nowadays actually, intellectually respected, and emotionally acknowledged, which is even harder. So, empathetic teacher student relationships improve classroom interaction, their motivation to do well, which in turn, as a consequence, enhances their academic achievement, also the emotional well being. Now, let us try to understand what the terms hearing, active listening, and empathetic listening means. So, all of you, I'm sure, know about this, but still, I'll say. Uh, so, if a student says that, we have lots of assignments here also in our university, also in a semester itself, they have to do a number of assignments, multiple assignments. So, if a student comes and tells you that, ma'am or sir, there are too many assignments, I'll not be able to submit yours on time. So you're hearing what? That you'll be late in your assignment submission. Active listening is that you realize that you'll not be able to submit because you're finding the assignment difficult. And empathetic listening is a step further. You realize that you will not be able to submit on time because you find the assignment number one difficult, and also at the same time you're feeling overwhelmed with the sheer number of assignments. So tell me how I may be of help to you. So in the first instance, we simply heard the words not able to submit on time. This is passively we heard this because this sound entered our ears and started judging the student. Okay, fine, this is not paying attention, he doesn't come to class, this, that, and he's not able to submit on time. In the second instance, we heard the student and also understood the predicament that, okay, the student is finding it difficult. And in the third instance, we tried to forge a humane connection with the student by understanding his feelings and perspectives. And also, I'll just add here that if the student is unwilling or hesitating to speak at the moment, then do not press him. Give him time and then he may reveal the information later. We are talking about empathy. So, like the dictionary definition of empathy, what does the dictionary definition of empathy says? It says that it is I quote, the action of understanding, being aware of, being sensitive to, and vicariously experiencing the feelings, thoughts, and experience of another. It is the capacity to put oneself into the psychological frame of reference of others, which helps to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. This skill also helps us understand and accept others, which improves social interactions and relations. Mind you, people, it's very easy to sympathize, but it's very difficult to empathize. With reference to the earlier example, that not being able to submit assignments on time, cognitive empathy is exuded when you say that I understand you're not able to complete your assignment. You display emotional empathy when you say that I can sense your helplessness or frustration. And when you show understanding as well as a willingness to help or sort out the matter, then you are being compassionately empathetic. I'll just distinguish here now and it's very important to distinguish this term empathy from the more common term sympathy. Sympathy is a feeling of sincere concern for someone who is experiencing something difficult or painful. Empathy involves actively sharing in the person's emotional experience. Confusion about these two terms stems from the fact that at one time the word sympathy carried both these meanings. When word empathy was coined in the early 20th century. It was first applied in the contexts of philosophy, aesthetics, and psychology, in which it still has its technical use. The common use of empathy known today dates back to the mid 20th century. Empathy also does not mean that you have to agree to whatever the student is saying. As I already mentioned, because some teachers, some of us may have this savior complex, so we try to, we set out to solve the problem, which very often is beyond our means. We, should not be lowering our standards just to be a people pleaser. It is very important to set boundaries and draw the line between listening to the student and indulging his whims or issues. This can lead us to become emotionally exhausted, which we don't want for ourselves because already we have a lot of things on our plate. It is hard work, but we should attune ourselves to treading the fine line where we understand before being judgmental. Now, human beings, all of us human beings, we live in a society, and we all know that there is ample research which states that human beings, human brains are wired for social connection. So, feeling heard, it reduces stress levels and also improves learning, creativity, and participation. So, if someone says, I'm struggling and cannot finish my projects, so we may have the propensity to sometimes say, you really need to learn time management. But instead, if we say, tell me more, or how may I help you, that will go a long way in breaking barriers and building connections. We all know that joy shared is doubled and sorrow shared is halved. So when a student finds a welcome ear or welcome atmosphere which encourages him to speak freely, then he feels a sense of relief. This is called ventilation. We love to vent our feelings. When you vent your feelings or emotions, you feel, de-stressed. We all know that the student demography in the present context involves multiple changes and challenges which earlier generations did not really have to encounter. Modern students, they experience anxiety on different levels, panic attacks, hysteria. They live under constant surveillance, pressure, be it familial, peer, social media. There is a overload of information which creates uncertainty regarding life choices and careers. Then again, you have alcohol, substance abuse, and to add to all of these, mental health challenges and stress is something which is becoming a part of all our lives. Not only students, everyone. So this reflects in the behavior in the form of irritability, uh, aggression, apprehension, helplessness, hopelessness, inferiority complex, absenteeism, decline in academic performance, etc. So it is important, I know, as a department, as members of this fraternity, it is important to identify these students and try to help them. But because of the like stigma associated or attached to psychiatric consultations in our country, these students, they do not seek help and suffer in silence. Therefore, listening has become a teaching competence in the sense that we have to increasingly also become mentors, facilitators, and within our professional boundaries, counselors. Then there are other factors which all of us know, which is going on at the moment, like frequent changes in the education pattern, tactless handling of student demonstrations by an arrogant administration. I would not like to elaborate on that here. Corruption in administrative levels, negligence, indifference of the government towards student problems. This results in student agitations. So I'm sure all of you know what's happening. So as human beings, when we think of ourselves as teacher educators, we are also human beings, and in that sense we are also limited in our capacities, which become barriers to empathetic listening. So what are the barriers? Like, we have environmental barriers like our mobile phones, which are continuously with us. We are never without them. These are very ubiquitous. Then we have interruptions regarding work or time constraints, which deter good listening. We have deadlines. Everything has to be within a deadline nowadays. Then these are, environmental barriers. Then we have like personal barriers, our ego, assumptions. then prejudices. And also, all of us, most of us have this, we can't deny that, a judgmental attitude. These are some personal barriers which can affect our listening. Then we have institutional barriers, like, here also we have this, a larger student-teacher ratio. Then administrative work pressure, heads of departments, members of different committees, wardens. I myself am a warden for hostels, so that involves my presence 24/7, online. And then evaluation deadlines, the work that has to be finished. So these all are deterrents to active listening. So we have to traverse the journey from ignoring to pretending to listen to selective listening to active listening, and finally to empathetic listening. And this is something which we have to work on. This is hard work, and we have to work on that. At this point, if you allow me, I would want to share a personal case study, in a way, something that has happened here in our department with a student, and I would like to share that with all of you, if you allow me, because every
Sure, ma'am.
student, yeah, every student, thank you, carries a story in the classroom. So listening is how we begin to understand it. So I'm going to talk about this particular case, a student who he had missed his classes for close to 2 months. So, like, the semester has started and he has not attended even a single class. And then he appears on the day of the mid-semester exam, to take the test of my paper. My course was the first course in the mid-semester exam. So he appears on the day of the test. And I'm really shocked to see him that, okay, fine, you had not attended any class and you are here to take the test. Mind you, he's a very intelligent student. I've been, meeting him for the last 4 semesters. But he's very reticent and very unassuming in class. But his answers, written answers on the script, they tell a different story. They show his remarkable aptitude and in-depth knowledge of the subject. So I'm really amazed, when I check his answer script and I say, okay, fine, this person doesn't speak in class, but he can write so well. Now, my dilemma at that time, I was invigilating also. So my dilemma at that time was, should I allow him to take the test, considering the fact that he has not attended a single class till then? So if I would have poorly responded, a poor response, according to me, would have been, since you have not attended classes, I cannot allow you to take the test. Speak to the head of the department, and it is not in my hands. That must be what I should have said, if it was a poor response. But, I know that he's a good student. He has that, mental capacity. So what I did was, I took him aside in the corridor, outside the classroom, in the corridor. I took him aside and gently told him that it would not be reasonable for me to allow him to sit for the exam. Because, this is not done, right? He has not attended classes. So how can I allow him to sit in the test? Because what would you write? You have not attended class. So I tell him that, you may appeal to the head of the department, or also the controller of examinations, for permission to take the following exams. And he also arrived late for the test. That is another thing. I also reassured him that he has been a good student thus far, and I have great faith in him, and I'll take a retest. So also another line I added, I don't know, it sounded very cheesy then, but I added it. I said that, fine, you are a valuable human resource of the country and you should not be wasting your potential. After I said this, in the corridor, he opened up to me about his mental health struggles. I didn't know that he had that. And then when I actually paid attention, I saw that maybe it was manifesting outwardly in his dressing, because he was dressing differently. And he had a number of piercings and his demeanor had changed. So I realized that maybe the mental health struggles, it was manifesting outwardly in his physical appearance. So I sympathized with him and suggested, that you take up professional counseling and help, because I do not have the necessary expertise to counsel him. So this, I feel now, when I was preparing this presentation, I feel that this was an empathetic response from my side. And I'm happy to tell you that I felt very vindicated when a couple of weeks later, his parents came to visit the head, and head called me to his room, and his parents told me that he is indeed seeking professional help, and now he's regularly attending classes. So, like, it is very important to know one's limitations and refrain from bragging that you will solve the problem. Do whatever is within your means and then refer the person to the appropriate expert. And if a student cries while narrating his grievances, this has happened multiple times with me, it must be taken as normal behavior and a healthy way of letting out one's emotions. We should not, at this time, show false or exaggerated assurances or ask him or her to exercise control. Because, if a student has a good cry, then fine, okay, I can sit here and look at that person crying and then, listen and then let him go with a few words of reassurance. Like in our department, what we do is that we make sure that the students are heard through regular mentoring classes where we deal with their problems on a personal level. Besides academic discussions, as research supervisors, we also have the opportunity to talk and listen to our PhD students' problems and personal issues, which is hampering their research, because all of us, we know that doing a PhD is a long and lonely journey. In our departmental meetings, as with today also we had one, we discuss, these students' problems and aim at conflict resolution. Sometimes what happens is family discord and lack of parental monitoring has an adverse effect on students who are already a risk factor, like the student that I was talking about. Later on, I came to know that he has a very troubled family atmosphere. Therefore, like here in our department, we have introduced a fairly new concept of parent-teacher meeting in our department, because in universities don't really have this parent-teacher meetings, but we have introduced this in our department for the first time last semester, which was a great success, as these interactions gave us new insights in academic advising and also performance appraisals. Now, when should students trust their teachers? As teachers, like, we have to, I'm sure all of us will agree on that, we have to demonstrate consistency. Then, most important thing, confidentiality and respecting their feelings. Because it's very easy for us to say that these Gen Z students are a pampered, entitled, snooty bunch of kids, but have we really walked in their shoes? Are we actually patient and non-judgmental? We should be asking ourselves. Our authenticity in dealing with them will build their trust in us, which will lead to their active engagement and collaboration, which in turn will forge stronger student-teacher relationships. So I came across this listen model, which is applied, which is an active listening and communication framework to build deeper trust and understanding. So this is a progression in 6 steps. So L, listen. L means look interested, which is eye contact, then open body language and no distractions. I is involving the speaker, encouraging the speaker to elaborate by asking open-ended questions. S will be stay on target, avoid judgment and focus entirely on the speaker's message without trying to think of a response. T will be test your understanding, like summarize what you have heard in your own words to make sure that you have clarity regarding the issue at hand, and like asking questions in between. E would mean evaluate the message, analyzing the facts and the intent behind the speaker's words objectively and with detachment. And then N will mean neutralize your feelings. Your personal biases, emotional responses should take a back seat, and you have to keep an open mind throughout the conversation. Make sure that you follow up. I would like to actually end my presentation with these 2 quotes by Carl Rogers. So he is, you might know that he's a pioneer in humanistic psychology, and he viewed active listening as a powerful, transformative tool for empathy and change. He famously emphasized that true empathetic listening is rare, but profoundly influential, noting it as one of the most potent forces for change that I know. And I quote him, one of the most potent forces for change that I know. He viewed deep, non judgmental listening as a precious gift that allows individuals to re-perceive their world and move toward healing. And these are the two quotes that I have included here. When a person realizes he has been deeply heard, his eyes moisten. I think, in some real sense, he's weeping for joy. It is as though he was saying, "Thank God somebody heard me. Someone knows what it's like to be me." And then another quote: "When I have been listened to and when I have been heard, I'm able to re perceive my world in a new way and to go on." It is astonishing how elements that seem insoluble become soluble when someone listens, how confusions that seem irremediable turn into relatively clear flowing streams when one is heard. I have deeply appreciated the times that I have experienced this sensitive, empathic, concentrated listening. Therefore, I would conclude by saying that empathetic listening has many facets. It is a leadership skill, it is a teaching skill, an emotional intelligence skill, and also a relationship building skill. Students will remember us not for our lectures, but for how we made them feel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for introducing us with empathetic listening. This is really a term that we have come across today. We are very much aware
I don't
about.
know how much I have been able to get through to you all,
Absolutely,
but
ma'am.
I
You
would
are.
like.
You have. That is why I'm expressing my gratitude, ma'am. Thank you so much for
No, no,
your
thank you so
truly
much. I feel
inspiring,
honored. And yeah, I would like,
inspiring.
if somebody would like to share their experiences, it'd be so
Absolutely,
heartening.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And thank you so much for your insightful presentation as well. Your thought provoking ideas, practical perspectives, and engaging delivery have undoubtedly enriched our understanding of the topic, ma'am. We
This
sincerely
is something
appreciate
that all of us know, but I was just using some personal experiences,
that
my
has really
personal
helped us,
experiences, my
everyone.
departmental experiences.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question here,
Yes.
actually. Ma'am, we know how to speak and we also know how to listen. We know to listen people, we know to listen, we know to speak as well. But why do we tend to speak more than to listen to? Has psychology something to do with it, ma'am? Like, is psychology playing a role here or
Maybe
is it
yes,
something
because we
else?
love to talk. We love to talk, most of
Okay.
the people, they we love to talk and we do not want to listen. It's hard work. And I don't know whether it's
Okay.
psychology or something else, but I think as human beings
Hmm.
we are more of talkers than of listeners. There are people who actually listen, like who can devote their ears to listening. And
Yeah.
that is something which I really admire, because sometimes it
Hmm.
happens with me also, that someone is saying something and before they can finish I'll be like interrupting.
Yes, ma'am,
Hear me
absolutely.
out.
Absolutely, ma'am. That is a general concept, and we face in our everyday life.
Yeah,
So
that
I
is that
think,
is what happens. That's very
yes,
normal,
ma'am.
and
Yes,
that is what actually what happens in real life. No matter how
yes,
much we try, we'll inevitably end up speaking more than listening.
absolutely. So, thank you so much, ma'am. Uh, now, I
Thank
would
you.
request our audience
Thank
to
you.
kindly, yeah, bring up your questions to ma'am. If you have any question, if you have any query, please come up with your questions. Ma'am is waiting for you all.
Everyone is now thinking. Please share your experiences if you have any, where you have been an
Okay,
active listener.
okay. Hi, Bashavi, VP
Hi,
here.
Dr. Dode. How are you?
I'm good. I'm absolutely good. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
Yeah,
you for
I have a
inviting
question.
me.
No, it was there. It was there. We were, in fact, we're very happy that you have accepted our invitation. As you were your presentation completely talked about empathetic listening and how to build connection. Actually, it all goes to one single point of building connection. So I was just wondering, when we uh, like Nirmala just said a while ago, like, we mostly, what do? We wait to answer, right? We
Yes,
wait to
yes.
answer. I mean, we wait for the person to finish the speech in order to answer, rather than to listen and understand what is that person trying to say. So many times, like, sometimes also we have a tendency, I mean, this is a very general observation, my observation, that we have a tendency, especially with students, uh, the moment a student opens his or her mouth, we begin to judge. Okay,
Yeah,
uh, this
definitely.
person is going to say this.
Yes.
This person is going to say this. Okay, he's a. I mean, age becomes a factor. Her experience becomes a factor to our own judgment. Like, bachchi hai, how much she knows. Okay, this is she is behaving her age. So, do you think that can we really come out of that mode and actually listen to what the teacher is trying to say? What do you suggest for us?
Sorry,
Especially for
Jyoti.
people like me, we often tend to
Yeah,
we often
I
tend
can't.
to
There's someone interrupting.
yes, symbolize.
Yeah.
Please unmute yourself.
Yes, Jyoti, please
Yeah,
continue.
yeah, yeah. But I said, I just wanted to know, like, we have this tendency of bringing in our experiences and trying to, judge them and assess them, and based on that, we give our, feedback, or we engage in that conversation. So, what do you have to say? Is it, are we going on the right track, or is there any way that we should, avoid doing that?
This is something, you cannot avoid this. I feel, Jyoti, you cannot avoid this. You have to make a conscious effort. Even in our, say, for example, in our meetings in the department, one person will be, there's some conflict, say, and one person will be speaking and the other person will be immediately interrupting, and then the person is, okay, let me finish what I have to say. And like, then the other person will butt in, no, 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 listen, this is that. And in classroom situations, what happens is that, uh, it's more speaking than listening, because I'm sure you all might have also experienced this. You ask a question in class and you hardly ever have a response. Then what you do is that you end up questioning and also answering yourself, because the students don't really respond. So what happens is that you inevitably end up speaking more than listening. And when the time for listening comes, then you have to rush for your other class. So you tell the student, so you tell the
That's
student
true.
that,
That's
okay,
true.
we will continue this in our next class. And that doesn't really happen unless the student comes personally to your cabin and, shares his grievances or whatever. Then also, you're like, okay, I have to go now. I have this meeting, this committee, that committee.
And
And
it's
then
a fact. It's a fact. We are
it's a
like, it's
fact.
not
And
just
so
the
you
class
have to
that
make
we
this
do.
conscious
Yeah.
effort. Or maybe what I do is that I say that, okay, I don't have time now. I give them a date and time that I'll give you 1 hour. So I'll actually listen to you. You come to me then. It isn't with phone conversations also. When I'm not really, have the time for listening, I say that, okay, can I keep your call now? I will call you at this time so that I can listen. So maybe that is what we can do, to the best of our ability. You unmute yourself, Jyoti. You're muted.
Oh, I said, yeah. Thank you. That was indeed very, like, insightful. That we often tend to sort of judge our students before they answer, and sometimes also, and yeah, one important thing that you pointed out, that we, most of us, we have paucity of time. Of course, we have 50 minutes class or 1 hour class.
In a
In
semester
one
system,
span
it
of
is
one
like
hour
that.
class, yeah, and we have to rush. We have to rush for our lessons to be completed in time, and there are tests and evaluations, so many things, blah blah blah. And even so in that case, it becomes, in fact, very difficult to, communicate or listen patiently to one student's issue, and so that is how it goes on. So we also invite questions from other attendees, other participants of this FPP, if you have any. We're very happy to have you. And since Bashabi has given some time to us, I think she's otherwise a very busy, person.
Hello,
Uh,
hello, ma'am.
Yes,
yeah,
hello.
please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm Adrinil. I'm
Just now Nirmala ma'am was asking you about that, what is the tendency, natural tendency
Uh,
to, why do we speak more and
mm,
listen less?
mm.
I mean, I'm just sharing with you because what I had once, as you said, this is a sharing platform.
Yes, please.
So I heard somewhere, I don't know whether it's psychological, but then according to our tradition, when we talk about our Hindu tradition in Vedanta, sorry, in Gita,
Uh,
there is a saying that ahamkaram balam darpam kamam krodam cha samstita, means that the ahankar, the pride, always seeks for validation. And one of the mode of, when we want to prove our ahankar is through that we want to prove ourselves that we are right. So the general tendency of people is to seek validation from others through the limited knowledge what they have.
exactly.
And in the
Absolutely.
process, what we tend to, we want to project ourselves more. So what is the best way of projecting ourselves more? A common man like me is to say, say more
You tell
rather
me.
rather than listening more. So yeah, of course we have to work on it. And as we talk about, humanities is a vast field, and somewhere psychology, philosophy, language, linguistics are somewhere deeply connected. So there is an
Connected.
ancient tradition, and possibly that is the reason normally we tend to speak more, but we have to come out of that, we have to listen more. That's what I felt, so I shared over here. Mhm.
Thank you. Yes,
Thank
it's
you, thank you.
absolutely true. That is what I mentioned also, that, these are personal barriers. Our ego, as you said, ahankaram, our ego, our assumptions. This is very natural as human beings. This is our actually basic instinct, to become, okay, fine. Who is this person to question me?
Who is this person to
That
question?
is what we say. That is what the administration also does. The government also does in some way. Okay,
Huh,
who are these people to question us? We
question.
are the policymakers, we are the lawmakers. No, we know everything. So that
Exactly.
is the propensity, that, human propensity, that, pride. And we know
Yes.
pride always goes before a fall.
Yeah, yeah.
So, that
Thank you so
that
much, thank you
humility,
so much.
inculcating that humility is very important, which is difficult, but, as I said, we have to try to work on that.
Sure.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Ma'am, I have a question for you.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Bashabi ma'am.
Yes, Meenakshi,
Uh,
yes.
yeah, my question is, does empathetic listening mean solving other person's problem?
No, never. You
What is your
cannot
take on
solve
this?
everybody's problems. You cannot
Yes,
solve that.
yes.
No, there are, say, 80 students in your class. 80 students come with their 80 different problems, and you have your own problems, right? How are you going to go about solving others' problems? It's not possible. So, empathetic listening is like you have to kind of share the emotions, the feelings of that person. When the student comes and cries and tells you that this is what is happening, ma'am, and this is why I'm not being able to, function properly or perform academically well. So, okay, fine, I understand. Can I help you in any way? Tell me, how can I be of help to you? That is enough. Sometimes that is enough. And this also entails counseling, which I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist, so I will not be able to do that, in the way that a professional would do. So I said, fine, you go, we have our university counselor, take an appointment with the university counselor, and please share your problem. He or she may be of help to you. So that is the most I think we can do. But if we go on
Ma'am, I
trying to
think the
solve the problems,
attitude is
then
important.
it will hamper us. Huh. It will
Sorry for
hamper
the interruption.
us. We will
Yes.
become exhausted.
True.
I think in that I just wanted to barge into this conversation actually.
Hmm.
Yeah. Rather than fixing problems, like it's all
You
about fixing
cannot
problems.
fix. Yeah.
We cannot fix their problem, but what we can make them understand is that we are there for you. Like
Yes.
say like just now you just gave an example, like something, if it has got to do with some psychological issues or something
Hmm.
to do with
Hmm.
anxiety, and I mean anxiety is something that we often find in our young adults nowadays, the young students. So the best thing that we can do is, of course, we can take them to the university counselor or the college counselor,
Mm.
or we can make an appointment with them, or we can
Yes, we
refer
can do that
our
ourselves.
students.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
we can refer our students to their respective mentors. And mentors play a very important role, I think, when it
Mm.
comes to counseling and supporting our students. So
Yes.
we
I'd
can,
like
I
to
mean,
share. Yeah, Jyoti, please continue. I'm
no, no, no.
interrupting.
You please go ahead. I just wanted to say that, like, that the best way to listen to, I mean, the best way to make someone feel uh, cared for is to lend a patient ear,
Mm.
understanding ear. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I
Mm-hmm.
feel.
Mm-hmm. Yes. No, I just wanted to share another experience. Just came to mind. Just there has been an incident in one of my papers, courses, exams. That there was this student who, in the middle of writing the exam, she suddenly started having panic attacks, and she said that I cannot continue, and she was like in a very like her state was not very good. So we had to take her out of the exam hall and make her sit separately, give her water and all. And like very honestly speaking, the first thought that came to my mind was, oh, I have to set another question paper for the student now because she'll not be able to take the test. And then when I sit with her and then I ask her, what's your problem? Why are you having this, anxious, anxiety attack? And then I come to know that her parents had recently separated. Now, this is something that I cannot fix. Right, this is something that I cannot fix. Recently separated parents, so I mean, I cannot fix her home atmosphere. So what I did was, I said, okay, fine, you tell me what's the problem. I will not be able to help you that way. But if you want to talk about it, you can talk about it to me or to the counselor. So that is something, just came to mind.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
yeah, I wanted
Absolutely.
to.
Ma'am, I feel that the attitude is important. The attitude or the
Yeah.
approach towards the students, that I'm still there for you or I am there for you. Uh,
Yeah.
I feel 90% problem of the student is solved there, isn't it?
Yeah, there have also been times when I have not really listened because I had other deadlines. I had to rush somewhere. So later on, when I
True.
come to know that the student has suffered in some way or the other, I feel guilty
Yes.
also, and I have to live with
Absolutely.
that guilt because I had not listened at that time. So that is something
Absolutely.
that is a part of your job.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, what are some simple techniques faculty members can use among themselves to become better listeners in their day-to-day interactions?
I don't think so. There is one technique exclusively, available. This is a very personal thing, and since every one of us, each one of us, we are all different people. We have different ways of listening, different ways of speaking. We are all different personalities, right? So it is very individual and very subjective how we develop our own technique because we have to first realize that this is what I have to do. This is the we have to identify that this is the way in which I can be a better listener. So let's see if it works. It is always a question of experimenting. You have to experiment, that is this how will it work better this way, or is this how I should be a better listener. I have, like, as I told you already, in class I wait for interactions. At the end of the class, I keep 5 minutes for interactions. If there are no interactions, then I realize that, okay, fine, they have understood well or they have not understood well, so they're afraid to speak up. And what I do is that after evaluation is done, after the answer scripts are given, I personally check, if in smaller classes, to be very honest, I personally check their marks and I note which student has you know excelled or which student has downgraded himself or herself. Then I ask that person, in with give sending them a message that you please come and meet me at this time. They come to me, I show them their script and say that, see, last semester or in the last exam, you got these many marks and now you have, why have you degraded? I ask them the reason. And then I come across some really, sad at times, and, at times very weird also reasons that why they have not been able to perform well. So this is what I do. I consciously make an effort to keep a tab on which student has progressed or which student has degraded himself or herself. So then I take the necessary action. That is what I do. In class, it's not very easy in larger classes, because in any classes, like we have 80 to 85 students, which is difficult, because at the back, people sitting at the back might not really be listening to you, and you can't do anything about it. So that is my way.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your answer.
Thank you.
And with this, I consider there are no more questions from the audience.
I hope I have been able to get
Absolutely.
through.
To the core. Absolutely, ma'am. You have. So with this, we come to the end of today's session. On behalf of the organizing team, I extend my heartfelt thanks to our esteemed speaker for sharing such valuable insights, and to all the participants for their enthusiastic presence and engagement. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for your time, attention, and enthusiastic
Thank you so much for having me, Nirmala,
Thank
Jyoti,
you.
Meenakshi. Thank you so much.
Rather,
Thank
we
you
are grateful,
again.
ma'am, for your time. Thank you so much.
Bye. Have a good evening.